everyone. I hope that you're all doing well. I hope that everybody had a nice week. Thanks for, joining me again, and thanks for stopping by. If you're new here, welcome to Let's Talk Health. On this channel, we do live streams where we talk about many different health topics, and we kind of share our experiences and ask me questions in live Q&A. So if you are new here, thanks for joining. And if you've been here before, thanks for coming back, and I hope you enjoy today's show. So I just wanted to follow up with people from last week. Did anybody try any probiotics? Last week we spoke about probiotics and the different types of probiotics and what they are helpful for. So did anybody kind of try any after last week? Or was that something that you thought maybe you needed? So let me know in the chat. And then I'll kind of explain for today what we're going to be doing. So as you can see, we're going to be talking about cortisol and stress. We're going to be talking about ways that you can naturally reduce your cortisol, which is your stress response hormone. So we're going to be talking about that. I'm also going to be kind of sharing my health tips on it, so what things I like best. But then I'm going to be showing a article from Healthline, and we're going to go through that and see what they have to say, and if I find those helpful, and if you have found those helpful, and if it's good information that's out there, and what we can get from that. So that's kind of what we're going to be doing today. It's going to be a bit different, and I'll be taking you through that article, that document. Okay, so without if there's not any other questions or any other comments, we'll start in a minute on that. I'll get things set up. But just let me know in the chat if there's anything new that's going on, if you have any health concerns that you want to ask me about today, feel free to mention it in the chat, okay? All right, so some people are saying hi and hello. Hi, thanks for joining. Okay, Nancy's saying that she had yogurt, so that's great. So that's some good sources of probiotics. So we talked about, how you can get it through your diet if you don't need it to have it through a supplement. So that's great. Okay, I'm taking ProBioSap. Nice. That's a really good one. I like that one. That one's one of my favorites. That one, and then the Multistrain 11. Those two are really good ones. They got a nice, good variety of different strains of probiotics. So that's good. Glad that you're taking that one. Nice. Yeah, so if any of you are interested in probiotics, and if you think you need to take it, or if you're wondering if you need to take it, then go and watch my video from last week, and I talked all about that. Okay, so we're going to be talking, like I said, we're going to be talking about cortisol and stress. So I'm sure a lot of you have heard about cortisol before, but it's your stress hormone, and it's released anytime we kind of experience something like a stressor. A little bit of cortisol, or regular amounts of cortisol here and there, are okay for our body. It's actually very important for our body to function. We do need it, but too much cortisol, so prolonged stress or prolonged overwork or exhaustion, that is not good. And those levels of cortisol then can lead to things like heart disease, obesity, diabetes, a weaker immune system, many different things. It can have an effect on your sleep, on your gut health, on your weight. So too much cortisol is not good. Our cortisol is basically our fight or flight response that you hear about. So basically it's like, if you're faced with something, do you just kind of run, or do you kind of fight it? So that's kind of what our cortisol response is like. It kind of gets that adrenaline going. So if you think about that, if you have long-term amounts of cortisol, it's actually not good for your health. Okay, so some of my favorite things for helping with lowering your cortisol would be looking at things like some relaxation techniques, so exercise. Some diet things are always important, so we'll go into that when we go in the article. We'll see what they say. Sleep, a good sleep schedule is important, and then having some supporting herbs can be helpful too. But a lot of it really is around lifestyle. If you do something, if you take supplements, but your lifestyle doesn't change, then it's not really doing anything for you. Okay, so let's go into this document. I'm going to show you. All right. So I think you can all see that. It should be showing up for you. Let me know if you see it or not. So this is a document on how to 11 ways to lower your cortisol levels. Basically what they're talking about here is that cortisol is a stress hormone like we were talking about, and it's like that fight or flight response. And again, like I was saying, like over time, if you have too much of this, it can lead to many different health issues like weight gain, high blood pressure, diabetes, heart disease, difficulty sleeping, and all of that. So that's kind of what I was talking about. So let's see what they say. So this is, again, is saying what happens when cortisol is high. So yeah, same things we were talking about. We'll just continue through that. So number one, they're saying, is getting the right amount of sleep. So yes, I would agree. Like sleep is very, very important. So let me see if I can actually show you the cortisol and melatonin curve. So you can kind of see. So this is the cortisol and melatonin curve. So we'll talk about this and then we'll talk about sleep because it's all important in regards to this. So as you can see, the cortisol is the black one and then the melatonin is the red curve. So your cortisol should spike in the morning. It should spike around, 6, 7 a.m. And it should be like what gets you out of bed, gives you energy. And then it kind of will dip throughout the afternoon. So sometimes you might feel a little bit lower energy in the afternoon when your cortisol is dipping. In the evening, your cortisol should be low. And then like throughout the night, it should be very, very low. Whereas melatonin, on the other hand, is the opposite. So melatonin during the day, it's low. It builds up. And then at nighttime, it should be high and should be helping you go to sleep. When we have a cortisol imbalance, so when we have like high levels of cortisol or really, really low cortisol, that's when this curve is kind of like shifted and you might not have that spike of cortisol in the morning if you're so burnt out and running on empty, or you might have really high cortisol in the evening so you can't fall asleep. So that's that picture of that curve. I just wanted to show you because it is important to see what it's like and why cortisol is important for sleep. So let me take that out. Okay, so let's go back to this. So yes, getting the right amount of sleep is important. As they're talking about here also with shift work, the cortisol levels are higher in workers who slept during the day rather than at night. And that has a lot to do because of that melatonin cortisol curve that we were talking about. So it is important to make sure you're getting a good quality sleep, getting enough sleep, and making sure that your cortisol levels are balanced. It might be challenging at first if you do have really high cortisol, if you are stressed to sleep. So, like this tip is kind of it's important, but at the same time, it might be difficult to sleep if you have, difficulty with your cortisol, if you have high cortisol. So here they actually outline something that's really important. I like going through this too, in order, like tips to take and steps to take in order to get proper sleep. So one would be having a bedtime routine. So that means you're going to bed at the same time every night and getting up at the same time every morning. Then exercise earlier in the day. Yeah, I agree with exercising earlier in the day. You don't want to exercise too close to bedtime. It might be a bit too stimulating. Limit caffeine intake is also very important. I agree with that. Avoid nicotine and alcohol. Those can affect your sleep. Limit light exposure, like bright light. So this is also important. So like at least an hour before you're going to bed, you shouldn't be using your electronics. You should maybe do something like reading or some gentle stretching, something to kind of calm down. Make sure your room is quiet, and they say take naps, but I don't know if you would. I wouldn't take naps, and it says only for your shift worker. Yeah, so if not, I wouldn't take a nap because that can sometimes disrupt your sleep too. So yes, I would agree with this. Like, first step would be getting a good quality sleep schedule. So that's good. Okay, let me see if there's any questions right now. Okay, so I can see it. Oh, thanks, Andrew. I'm glad you can see this. I try to get 8 hours a night, but wake up a few times to go pee. Okay, that's very common. If you're able to fall back asleep pretty quickly, then that's not too bad. If it takes you longer time to fall asleep, then maybe your sleep is being disrupted. Is cortisol a form of energy? Can it act as energy? So it kind of does like increase that adrenaline kind of response, like you would think. So that is kind of like, I guess, gives you some energy. It is that, like I said, it helps you get out of bed in the morning. You should have like a nice cortisol awakening response in the morning, so you should feel good and energized. Okay, let's go on to the next one. Exercise, but not too much. Okay, so yeah, I would agree with this too. Oh, sorry, it doesn't add there. I would say that yes, if you do really, if you're very stressed out, and you're very burnt out, and I see this a lot with people, they are more burning themselves out and running on like empty if they are doing very, very intense workouts. So if you are very stressed and you have high cortisol, I would suggest doing something more grounding, doing something on like a medium or low intensity. So that could be things like walking, cycling, even light jogging, swimming is another good option, and then doing even things like weights and stuff, but nothing too much that you're going to overexert yourself, and then trying to incorporate some sort of grounding things, whether that be stretching, meditation, yoga. So I agree. So they're saying that like intense exercise increases cortisol shortly afterward, but will decrease a few hours later. This short-term increase helps coordinate growth of the body ready to meet a challenge. So that being said, overdoing it can have the opposite effect. So therefore, aim for around 150 to 200 minutes of low to moderate intensity exercise each week, and allow yourself time to rest between workouts. So yes, I would agree with that. That is very important. Does anybody notice, like, if you, if you do overdo it with your workouts, do you feel like you're kind of more exhausted or burnt out than you started out with, and it's not really helping you? Let me know in the chat if that's something that you notice. I do notice that, like, I like to try to incorporate a couple of different things in my workout. So like I was saying, I like to sometimes try to do those more relaxing things, things to kind of calm your body down, nourish your body. Okay. Let's go on to the next one. So number 3, they're saying, is learn to recognize stressful thinking. So this is a good mindset tip. I mean, I wouldn't really say this would be like one of the top things to do, but it is very helpful, but this will take time, right? So paying attention to stressful thoughts, mindfulness-based stress reduction strategies to make yourself more aware. It is very helpful. So recognizing stressful thoughts allows you to formulate a conscious and deliberate reaction to them. Okay, so for example, a study involved 43 women in a mindfulness-based program showed the ability to describe and articulate stress was linked to lower cortisol response. So some sort of mindfulness based practice. So that could be many different things. Like you could do some journaling. If you're noticing that you're having a stressful feeling come on, notice what that feels like. Do you get tense? Does your heart rate increase? Do you start sweating? And then noticing these things and having to learn to deal with them and recognize what you need to do to kind of decrease that stress. I would say that's important, definitely. Okay. Next one would be to breathe. So yes, I would say deep breathing techniques are very helpful for stress. So they are incorporating a lot of different things here. So that's very helpful. This kind of ties in what I was talking about with like something like yoga or doing some sort of meditation. So doing some deep breathing techniques, that's very helpful. It helps to go into your parasympathetic nervous system, what they're talking about here, like your rest and digest. That helps to lower cortisol. So yes, deep breathing would be very helpful. Again, do whatever works for you. You don't have to do meditation if you don't like it. You can just, sit and do some deep breathing where you're just inhaling through your nose and exhaling through your mouth. There's like the box breathing that I've talked about before, which is helpful too. So I would say definitely focusing on breathing and trying to make that a priority can be very helpful. So as you can see, all of these things that we've talked about so far have been like things that are free, things that you can just do. Getting good sleep, breathing, exercising, mindfulness stuff definitely are all very helpful. Okay, let's see if there's any questions before I go on. Okay, if I didn't have to wake up to pee, I could sleep forever. Nice, yeah, that would be nice. Are naps good to replenish after a tough workout? So I'd say like always listen to your body. If you feel like you really need to take a nap, then that's fine, definitely can. And notice how that's impacting your sleep. Some people are okay to take naps and they still have a good sleep. So if you feel like you're sleeping and you're waking up refreshed and well rested and you're having a good quality sleep, then a nap can be okay. If you're finding sometimes naps can be a problem because you might nap during the day and then you're going to sleep really late at night, and that isn't that good either because of like the sunlight and the melatonin. You actually want to try to go to sleep like when it starts getting dark, except right now it's dark at 7, but around like 11, not too much later than midnight, you don't want to go to sleep. So that's just what I would say about naps. Yeah. All right, so we'll go on to number 5. Thanks everybody for the questions, and keep them coming. Ask me anything, and I think that's it. That's all there was right now. But yeah, ask me any questions. Give this video a thumbs up if you like it. If you like this kind of style where I go through an article or something like that, let me know. Give this video a thumbs up and I'll know if you like it. And then also, if you haven't done so already, be sure to subscribe to the channel and click the bell button so you get notifications when I go live. Okay, so number 5 is to have fun and laugh. Okay, so this is good. I mean, this is a nice way of like reminding us that there's many things we can do to kind of reduce our stress, and it doesn't have to be something so complex. So just having fun and laughing. So I'll ask you, like, is that something as an adult, do you still make time to have fun and laugh and be silly and like enjoy, like the little funny things? So if you don't, maybe that's something you can try doing, whether you like talk with friends and talk about funny stories, or if you watch something funny, like watch funny videos. Laughter can be very good. It can be helpful to kind of just increase those feel good hormones in your body and lower cortisol. So interesting, they're saying here, both authentic and forced laughter can lead to lower levels of stress. So that's great. So even if you have to force yourself to laugh, it's still going to be good. It's still going to be helpful. Laughing yoga, interesting. I've never heard about that. Has been shown to lower cortisol, reduce stress, improve mood. Okay. So developing hobbies can also promote feelings of well-being, which may translate to lower cortisol. So that's good. So they're showing like middle-aged veterans that took up gardening was helpful. Okay. Nice. So, and also listening to relaxing music. So have fun, laugh, do something that you enjoy. Don't forget to do things that you enjoy rather than just doing things that stress you out. All right, let's see what's next. Number 6 would be to maintain healthy relationships. So, friends and family are a source of great happiness in life as well as great stress. These dynamics are played out in cortisol levels. Okay, so this one might be a challenge to do, right? If you have a lot of stress and family and friends, that can be challenging. It's one of those things that can be difficult to kind of overcome. If you're noticing that friends cause you a lot of stress, then maybe you need to have some boundaries and know when to set those boundaries and how to step back. Let's see what else. So they're talking about a study of conflict styles, and 88 couples found non-judgmental mindfulness led to a more rapid return of cortisol to normal levels following an argument. So practicing compassion and empathy towards your partner and receiving it back may better manage your cortisol levels. Support from loved ones can also help reduce cortisol in the face of stress. So this is also a good reminder that your relationships in your community have an impact on your overall stress. So maybe knowing how to evaluate the community setting or the relationships that you're in. Do you need to reach out to people if you find that you don't connect or contact people that often? Maybe you need to reach out to people, and that can help too. So that's a good tip. Okay, the next one is taking care of a pet. Interesting. So these are interesting things. Like some of these things, it's not things that I commonly would recommend in practice. So it's nice for me to see this too. Like I wouldn't say go get a pet, but I think that's something nice to know, that animals and having I guess that type of companion can be helpful too. So does anybody have a pet, and do you notice if you, or maybe you don't have a pet but you go and see a pet, or you just take care of somebody's pet, does that help kind of, relax you, help you feel a bit happier? Maybe you can go visit people that have pets or something like that more often if you're noticing that. So they're even saying here, like a study involving adults showed that contact with a dog was better than support from a friend. Interesting, during a socially stressful situation. There's also pet therapies, and when I was in school, they would even bring dog therapy as well. So it definitely shows that pets have a calming effect if you kind of just pet them and hang around with them. Maybe you need to go to a farm and visit some pets. Okay, let's see if there's any questions here. So listening